Dear Dr. Anwar Ibrahim, dear friends of the European Muslim Forum, esteemed presidents, prime ministers, intellectuals, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon. Greetings from Sarajevo and Bosnia and Herzegovina. I'm really honored to be part of such an eminent meeting and to have the opportunity to speak about the Ummah, the present status, its future, and its contribution to the post-pandemic world. I would like to start with a reference to my father, Alija Izetbegović, who devoted his life to the struggle for freedom, equality, and the dignity of Muslims, for a proper understanding of Islam. As a young intellectual, he had a mission and dream of awakening the Muslims from centuries of lethargy. He wrote 60 years ago in his Islamic declaration these words: "The entire Muslim world is in a state of ferment and change. No matter what this world will look like after these changes make their first upward scale, one thing is certain: it will no longer be the world of the first half of this century. The age of passivity and stagnation has passed forever, because the world of 700 million people with tremendous natural resources, a world which occupies a first-class geographical position, which is higher to colossal cultural and political traditions, and is the bearer of the living Islamic mission, cannot remain in a state of subjection." These predictions were not the liking of the communist regime, and he was sentenced to 14 years of prison because of them. But repression cannot stop ideas and life. Alija became a president of those who had imprisoned him, and his predictions about the Muslims rising up became true. The Ummah has since been on the rise in every sense. The number of Muslims in the world has doubled. The economic power of the Islamic countries has grown tenfold. The number of schools, students, and teachers in some parts of the Islamic world has increased 100-fold. These quantitative changes have shifted the balance and led to social fractures, revolutions, conflicts, and in some Muslim countries, unfortunately, to horrible wars. Muslim leaders must first put an end to mutual conflicts, national and sectarian wars, violence of Muslims against Muslims, and only then they will be able to stop the violence done to Muslims all around the world by the others. The violence is global and widespread, from Palestine to China. And they will have to ensure freedom and the playing field for the young generation of Muslims. This well-educated, free-thinking generation deserves a free society instead of closed societies, rule of law instead of rule of one man, justice instead of oppression and corruption. It is only such a generation that could continue with the task of the present one, the generation which has started strengthening the backbone of Muslims, and that could restore the influence of the Ummah to the positions that it used to hold and that it deserves. And this is the position of a factor that contributes to stopping the negative trends and pointing mankind in the right direction. Because the direction that the world is heading today is not good, and we all are aware of this. In the past 50 years, which is time that most of us have witnessed, the world has grown and changed more than in the past 5,000 years. Science and technology have brought enormous benefits to mankind, but also acceleration and a direction that is worrying. Man is not able to control his own violence and selfishness, and has over the past couple of decades harmed to a worrying degree the substance, the material and spiritual substance which future of our children depends on. There is ever more violence, refugees, alienation, drug abuse, difference between rich and poor, modern slavery. In a modern society, the family is in crisis. There are more and more divorces and abortions and less newborn babies. The small blue planet that is beyond compare in the universe, our home that cleans and renews itself, that always gives us provisions, is wounded. Man has managed to pollute not just the air and the rivers, but entire seas and oceans as well. Entire animal species are being wiped out. And we have done all of this within a couple of decades. Man is obviously unable to slow down through his own will. But we have been slowed down, almost stopped in our tracks, by an invisible, tiny creature we named COVID-19. Anywhere, in everything bad, there is something good. In the span of just a couple of weeks, the rivers cleaned up. The air in big cities also cleaned up. The Bosphorus and channels of Venice once again saw dolphins swimming in them. We will live with COVID for a while, and mankind will overcome this pandemic the same as all others before it. The immunity of people who are young and strong will gradually overcome corona, the same as it has overpowered all of the plagues, choleras, and flus in the past centuries. A vaccine should be certainly of help, but I hope that we will learn the lesson offered us by this small creature. Good and responsible people must overpower the bad and the irresponsible. What is needed is unifying leadership of good and active people all around the world. And we have such people among all nations, among members of all religions and ideologies. And everyone needs to rely on their own system of values, creating a synergy. Muslim leaders, whose influence is growing stronger globally despite all the controversy, must give their contribution. We must avoid the clash of civilizations that Huntington talks about, and attain a synergy that 7 centuries ago created the Renaissance and in turn the essence of the entire contemporary Western culture and civilization. An integral component of this culture was given by Muslims in philosophy, astronomy, mathematics, medicine, chemistry, finance, architecture, music. The contribution of Muslim leaders, thinkers, and politicians may rest only on the Islamic system of values, on true respect and understanding of God's creation, on the balance, mizan, that He established. If we really respect God, we will also respect His creation. First of all, man. We will respect ourselves, our own morals and dignity, and save our family. We will also respect the animals that He subjected to us, even the insects like the bees, that our survival depends upon them, the earth that we are created from, the air that we breathe, the rivers, the seas, and so on. We will oppose any sort of violence, violence against men, against freedom, against ethics, against the mutual relations that God established, against the animal world, against the nature. I'm convinced that Bosnia and Herzegovina, one small country with a small population, but with an important position in the heart of Europe and significant experience in the struggle for peace, tolerance, reconciliation, and multiculturalism, will give its contribution to the necessary dialogue and synergy. We know very well the meaning of Islamophobia, hatred, war, violence, being refugee, meaning of a genocide. We know what it is like when 1,000 of mosques are destroyed in just 1 year of war. And we have renewed all of them. While during the war, we preserved intact the remarkable churches and synagogues, which for hundreds of years have almost been touching and leaning on the mosques in Sarajevo. and we are proud of that. Thank you very much.